building. It's a residential apartment building, but he falls from the 5th floor of a unit that does not belong to him. This is not his apartment. And the police, they investigate, and very quickly, within hours, they rule out all foul play. They say that he was drunk. This is his friend's apartment. He came for a dinner party with like a dozen other people. And he got drunk and he fell from the 5th floor and he died. It is a tragic accident. They don't investigate the over a dozen people at the party. They don't investigate further into his death. In fact, they just start censoring anybody who has questions online about Yu Menglong's passing. Why are you censoring that? And a few days later, when the hailstorm hits and the cloud storm hits, all the comments read, heaven and earth are weeping and grieving together for Yu Menglong's death. The injustice that happened to Yu Menglong has angered the heavens, and China is going to change. God is watching over us. Heaven will give you justice, Yu Menglong. Yu Menglong was tortured so badly that he was killed, and the heavens are mad. The anger and wrath of Yu Menglong's injustice is being depicted in Mother Nature, and that leads the government to censoring a good chunk of the news about this seemingly unrelated hailstorm and cloud storm. We're like, why would the government do that? Why would they go so far to censor the news of literal hailstorms, natural disasters, natural weather events? Are they saying that this is all connected to Yu Menglong? Are they saying that this is revenge by the heavens? Like, why would they be censoring that? Who would they even be protecting by censoring this news? Why does it seem like all of China believes that Yu Menglong's death was not an accident? Why won't the authorities just reopen and reinvestigate? Who are they protecting? The over a dozen people at the party that day? Then who are those people? How are they connected to the government? And are all the conspiracies true? That he was tortured before his death, that he swallowed a USB containing government secrets, and that his mom is now missing, that there is now a video being sold, a video that was taken by one of the partygoers of Yu Menglong being tortured to death, that it's being sold online for $100,000, or that they killed his dog in front of him to get him to comply, or that his entire career since 2020 has been controlled by wealthy executives that wanted a lot more from him. How can anyone even decipher what is true, what is not true, if everything is getting deleted and censored? Even his entire existence, it feels like it's soon going to be wiped. So what really happened to Yu Menglong? We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the New York Immigration Coalition. They're an advocacy organization that represents over 200 immigrant and refugee rights groups throughout New York. And this episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support our growing team. And we'd also like to thank you guys as we work on our mission to be worthy advocates. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. We will be linking a signature petition on the website demanding justice for Yu Menglong, and there are tons of disclaimers for this case. There are sensitive topics such as brief mentions of self-exit, corruption, drugging, physical assault, and and today's case takes place in China, and we had our professional translators working around the clock to gather all the information for this case. Even then, we had multiple discussions on whether or not we could even cover this case in these videos. Frankly, censorship was a big hindrance in the researching of this case. The information out there is largely unverified, limited. It's constantly getting deleted. It's constantly getting re-uploaded, disproven, and just cannot be traced back to a single credible source. I think the problem is with cases like this, there is a strong hesitancy to talk about it because the last thing that we want to do is spread unconfirmed rumors, to indirectly, accidentally cast light onto someone who may have no involvement in anything nefarious is also a fear of ours. But we think that's exactly why this case needs to be talked about. It is highly unlikely that any new information will come out that is verified. It is highly unlikely that the police are going to start listening and verifying or denying which rumors are true and which ones are not with fact-based evidence. It is highly, highly unlikely that anything will be done as of right now towards figuring out what actually happened to Yu Menglong on an official level, which means with time, people could just stop talking about Yu Menglong. So that's why we're making this episode, even though I'm going to tell you right now, nothing in this episode is confirmed. I mean, truly nothing. Take this video as the only thing that I can tell you with full confidence is that Yu Long, a famous, beloved Chinese actor with over 25 million followers, so a big actor, is dead. And the facts around his death are very suspicious in my opinion. And the government and the police, they're behaving even more suspiciously. And that's it. I can't confirm with certainty really anything else about this case. So to err on the side of caution, just assume that everything other than the fact that Yu Long is dead and that everything about his passing is being censored, everything really outside of those two facts, we don't know anything. And as of right now, legally, nobody has been detained, convicted, or has spoken out. Everything is alleged. Legally speaking, his death has been ruled an accident, even though nobody believes that. And I will say that the conspiracies here, they range from believable to, some of them seem initially very far-fetched. They're very intense. They seem like they would come out of a movie or a novel. And they're very grim, but they're very specific and they're dark. And I will say that even dealing with conspiracy theories in America, oftentimes reality is not that dark. Sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes the conspiracies just have a life of its own and it snowballs into something so dark and so crazy that it's so unbelievable. And then you have times where conspiracies are so dark, so unbelievable, so bad, and then the truth is so much worse. So like, we don't know what the case is here. So with that disclaimer, I know it doesn't really have to be stated, but do your own research, come to your own conclusions. That is highly recommended for this particular case. And lastly, there will be a few clips throughout this episode that allegedly capture Yu Long's last moments alive. These are audibly more graphic. There's not really anything visually graphic, so we will have an audible disclaimer before each clip is played to give you a moment to fast forward if you want to skip these portions. Additionally, I want to make it clear, like, we are not including these clips as just to showcase Yu Long's last moments allegedly before he passed, but these clips are the only alleged evidence that Yu Long was tortured. Or like direct evidence from that night, allegedly. It's not just to showcase his last moments. It's like, this is what people are holding on to, and this is what people are saying authorities need to keep investigating. I do believe that this video is going to be age restricted, potentially just naturally suppressed by the algorithms, but I just want to include as much of the key information as possible because it's messy out there. And if this does end up getting censored to the point where, because sometimes it happens, there will be an uncensored version or a less censored version, the video podcast on Spotify under Rotten Mango Video. So with that being said, let's get started. September 12th, 2025, a list starts circulating. And there's dozens of names on there. High-profile celebrities, very wealthy producers, directors, executives in the entertainment industry, and almost overnight, this list is getting dropped into forums, random group chats, best hiking equipment forum, this list has been dropped. Group chats of school moms for pickup, this list is getting dropped. The comment sections of videos that have nothing to do with this, people going fishing, this list is getting dropped. People are copying and pasting and dumping this list anywhere that they can, and just as quickly as this list gets dumped everywhere, entire comment sections are getting deleted. Entire forums are getting deleted. Entire accounts are being suspended. It's like having a glass cup on the table. Someone keeps coming in there and dumping this list, dumping water in there. Someone walks up, dumps it back out, and it keeps happening nonstop. But whoever is pouring the water, whoever's dumping this list, the group of people, they are working much faster because the list is getting out there and people are on a witch hunt on social media. They are looking for the accounts of every single person on this list. They are leaving comments on their social media pages. You're gonna rot for what you did. Just like even the heavens are pissed. You deserve to be in jail and we're gonna make sure you get there. You can't hide forever. Where are you? It almost feels like the Chinese Epstein list of sorts, with everyone on social media trying to spread the list around, figuring out when each person was proven to become a member of this list, what evidence is there for them to be on this list. People are trying to create mass threads, and there's videos and pictures of them attached to the whole thing. See, that's them. You can see them in the back of this video where Yu Long is, and this is like the total story. They're using them a week ago, and like this whole thing. This list is basically career death. One famous singer whose name is on that list, he goes from being relatively successful to just selling 15 tickets for his next upcoming concert. 15 tickets. Most people could invite their family members and sell more than 15 tickets without being a household name. Celebrities have been accused of cheating on their spouses, committing crimes against women, and they still...
That singer had to cancel the concert because he only sold 15 tickets.
Like, this list is very serious. I mean, to give you context, you've seen it. Celebrities have been accused of cheating on their spouses. Celebrities have been accused of committing crimes against women, and they'll still have hundreds, if not thousands of fans show up to their concert. This guy has 15 concert tickets sold? What the hell did the people on this list do to get this type of reception? They were there that night when Yu Menglong died. They were all at the dinner party that ended when Yu Menglong's life ended. In Beijing, China, near the financial district, there is a compound of apartment buildings. Ironically, they're called the Sunshine Upper East Compound. It's just a cluster of these very tall apartment buildings, all centered around these little, which if you live in a city like Beijing, living in a building with a large residential park is probably the easiest way to show that you have money. It's said that the cluster of buildings, the Sunshine Upper East Compound, there's at least 50 celebrities that live in this compound. It's a very high-end residential area. A bunch of wealthy retired couples, business executives, government officials. Naturally, all the entry points into the compound are typically controlled. There's 24-hour management, security on site. They have CCTV cameras throughout all the buildings. Nothing really happens at Sunshine Upper East Compound. Like, really. I will say the biggest problem that Sunshine Upper East Compound had in recent years was a bigger, better, more upscale building opened up across the street, so a lot of the celebrities left. All the high-profile residents were moving out. That was the biggest problem until September 11th, 2025, 5:10 a.m. And by most accounts, this is what happened. An older woman, potentially grandma-aged, so they call her the grandma. She's walking her husky, her big dog, and her husky starts barking, pulling her towards building 18 of this compound. So she's still inside of this private building area, but towards building 18. She doesn't live in building 18, so she's pulling the dog away, but the husky is just dead set on going to building 18. She walks over there, because this is the husky's walk, and she sees a man laying there face down outside of building 18. It's 5 a.m. It's still dark. She's a grandma. I don't know how well her eyesight works. She initially thinks, this guy's drunk and passed out outside the apartment building. She's thinking, what has this good neighborhood turned to? What's going on? She tisk, shakes her head, walks off. Then she does another circle around the buildings, and by this point, the sun has come up. And her little husky is going crazy again, dragging her towards building 18, towards the spot where that man was lying previously. And he's still there. And this time, with the light, with better vision, she sees that there is a lot of blood all over the pavement. This man is not drunk. Something happened to this man. So she starts freaking out, and she allegedly quotes, he was wearing clothes, and he looked very well dressed and clean. And that's when someone comes down. This is a direct quote from an interview that was done. Comes down, a man, and this man is saying that this dead man is his friend. He takes off his shirt, and he covers the man on the ground with it. Going through Bermuda criticism against the fifth floor, and he died. It is taken by one of the partygoers of also a fear of ours. But we think that's exactly why this case needs to be talked about. It is highly unlikely that any new information will come out that is verified. It is highly unlikely that the police are going to start listening and verifying or denying which rumors are true and which ones are not with fact-based evidence. It is highly unlikely that anything will be done as of right now towards figuring out what actually happened to Yu Menglong on an official level, which means with time, people could just stop talking about Yu Menglong. So that's why we're making this episode, even though I'm going to tell you right now, nothing in this episode is confirmed. I mean, truly nothing. Take this video as the only thing that I can tell you with full confidence is that Yu Menglong, the famous, beloved Chinese actor with over 25 million followers, so a big actor, is dead. And the facts around his death are very suspicious in my opinion. And the government and the police, they're behaving even more suspiciously. And that's it. I can't confirm with certainty really anything else about this case. So to err on the side of caution, just assume that everything other than the fact that Yu Menglong is dead and that everything about his passing is being censored, everything really outside of those two facts, we don't know anything. And as of right now, legally, nobody has been detained, convicted, or has spoken out. Everything is alleged. Legally speaking, his death has been ruled an accident, even though nobody believes that. And I will say that the conspiracies here, they range from believable to some of them seem initially very far-fetched. They're very intense. They seem like they would come out of a movie or a novel. And they're very grim, but they're very specific and they're dark. And I will say that even dealing with conspiracy theories in America, oftentimes reality is not that dark. Sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes the conspiracies just have a life of its own and it snowballs into something so dark and so crazy that it's so unbelievable. And then you have times where conspiracies are so dark, so unbelievable, so bad, and then the truth is so much worse. So we don't know what the case is here. So with that disclaimer, I know it doesn't really have to be stated, but do your own research, come to your own conclusions. That is highly recommended for this particular case. And lastly, there will be a few clips throughout this episode that allegedly captured Yu Menglong's last moments alive. These are audibly more graphic. There's not really anything visually graphic, so we will have an audible disclaimer before each
answer.
Yeah.
Because he only sold.
Then she does another circle around Tsie. He is known in China to be someone with very solid information. He comes out to post, breaking the news that Yu Menglong has passed. The post reads, 11:25 a.m., September 11, 2025. Today, I received news that Yu Menglong, star of Eternal Love and Go Princess Go, fell to his death in Beijing today. A source close to the matter told us that Yu Menglong had dinner with 5 to 6 friends at a friend's house on September 10th. Around 2 a.m. on September 11th, Yu Menglong went to a spare bedroom and locked the door to go to sleep. Around 6 a.m., his friends left the party without seeing him. They went downstairs and discovered his body on the pavement. A neighbor walking their dog saw him and called the police. It is reported that Yu Menglong had 2 Rolex watches in his pocket that belonged to his friends, and the screen mesh covering the window from which Yu Menglong fell out of was opened by Yu Menglong. Police have ruled out a criminal case, but the specific cause of death is still under investigation. This was posted first, before any official studio or police or really anyone releases a statement of Yu Menglong's passing. But the neighbor that's been recorded in that interview, she says when the police came back down from inside the building, she's getting pissed. Because it's 11:30, she just saw the paparazzi man post this. They said, no criminal activity? What do you mean? You were just taking fingerprints. Why were you taking fingerprints if there's no criminal activity? So she's thinking to herself, and you just got here. I just saw you. I mean, yeah, you were working hard, but you weren't working that hard. How can you conclude that there's no foul play? She's very upset, so she's not about to leave. She just saw what was posted, and she starts confronting the police. And she's like, I don't know what y'all are doing, but you guys cannot conclude that there was no foul play within that short span of time. She explains she's kind of freaking out to the police officers, and a nice hat, that's what they call the police in China, hats, because they wear hats. A nice hat pulls her to the side to try and figure out why she won't leave. Are you okay? Is everything okay? And she tells them, the citizens are upset. What do you mean you ruled out foul play? You guys just got here. How can you rule that out in a few hours? We're all very angry about this. These are direct quotes from the interview.
其中有一个帽子就非常善良，他就偷偷的把我拉到一边了。我说你们几个小时就定性了，我说我们现在都民愤了。
The nice cop is confused. We never said that we determined what happened. We're still investigating this case. Well, how long is it going to take? We will give the public an answer, but we have to wait. It shouldn't take much longer. All those people, his friends, are they just going to get away with it? So remember that list of over a dozen people that were reportedly at the party that night when Menglong died. She's talking about that list. And it seems like when the neighbors are talking, it seems like they kind of have an idea of what happened that night, to some degree. She's saying all the people that he was with, are they going to get investigated? They have been detained. The officer tells her, they have been detained. You have no idea how many people we've arrested already. Is it because he's a celebrity that you care so much? No, it's because he's a very kind person. If he had been tortured by an old pervert, we want to fight for justice for him. He deserves justice. Oh, well, he's been arrested as well. So many things are odd about this conversation. First of all, she clearly knows something that we don't know because she's asking, are all these people, are they going to get away with it? Now, many neighbors later report that they heard screaming and fighting all night long leading up to Menglong's death. So some people think that they knew that he was at an event and there was lots of screaming. This is abnormal for their apartment building. There was lots of threats being screamed. Clearly, they wake up the next morning and there is Yu Menglong and he's deceased. It must be connected, so of course you want justice. She later tells another person interviewing her, everyone in the neighborhood knows what happened here, okay? Everyone knows the sound blocking is very bad in this neighborhood. The units are not that new. They're actually much older. The distance between the buildings is pretty close. If someone screams, everyone can hear. She also indicates other things that she thought was weird. In fact, we don't have a fourth floor. This is her saying it. So a lot of people are reporting that he fell from the 6th floor. The unit in question has a 6 in front of it, so it indicates it's on the 6th floor. But this apartment building, like a lot of buildings in Asia, they don't have a 4th floor because of superstitions. 4 sounds like death. So they don't have a 4th floor. But technically, even though it says 6 on the door, this is the 5th floor. So he fell from the 5th floor, and that's a pretty short distance. She says she stood there watching for a really long time because she's like, how does someone fall from the 5th floor and pass away? Like, how do you even fall from that kind of distance? The window, maybe it seems low, maybe he's really tall. The window is not even a balcony, it's like a window that he fell out of. And like there was a net, and you'd have to jam through it. Like you really have to push it open to get through it. Like, how did he do that? She says, I stood there for a really long time watching because none of it was making any sense. And then she says, another thing that I noticed was I saw a bunch of cops inside the apartment, the unit in question. And I saw that they were moving around a lot. They were reenacting all sorts of motions, as if they're trying to simulate what motion was the most plausible and what could have happened. One motion was one cop standing there looking out the window, and another cop kicked him very hard from behind. It's like simulating a very hard kick, projecting him out of the window. From what she could tell from downstairs is that looked like the most accurate portrayal of all the different simulations that they've been doing. That looked like the only one that made sense because there's also marks inside and outside the building. The window that he fell from, there's marks on the side. I mean, just all of it. This is the most viable option. He was kicked, so he plummets to his death. That's what she thought until she saw the paparazzi man post that online. Police have ruled out a criminal case, but the specific cause of death is still under investigation. If someone kicks him, causing him to crash out the window to his death, that's a criminal case, no? And it's believable that the paparazzi guy knows what he's talking about because nobody outside this apartment complex, nobody online, not even Meng Long's agency or the police have confirmed that Yu Meng Long has passed away. But the one thing that stuck out to her the most about that whole conversation with the police officer, and she told the interviewer, and she's been thinking about it for days, like she thinks about it when she lays down at night, is she said, the old pervert. There's an old pervert that she mentions.
看我们谣传就说他被折磨什么有一个老变态嘛，然后那个帽子就忽然接了我一句，我觉得也很重要。他说他已经被拘谋起来了，那我就回来想半天，那就说明有这么一个人啊。
She's talking about one of the partygoers. It seems that she has believed that this partygoer is an old pervert before any of this happened. She mentioned that to the cop. And he said, oh yeah, we detained him. So why are you detaining people if there's no criminal case? And also, how do you know exactly who she's talking about?
Yes. How did you know that someone is an old pervert?
Exactly. And that he's been detained? Interesting. And then within a few days, the case is considered officially closed, with what authorities claim are no signs of foul play. This is an accidental death. If you were not at the apartment the day all of this happens, the rest of the world, the internet, initially, you only know three things. First, the very first statement released to the public is made by the paparazzi man. September 11th, 11:25. Again, he states, Yu Meng Long, one of the lead actors of Eternal Love and Go Princess Go, died today in Beijing after falling from the building. According to someone who knows the situation, on September 10th, Yu Meng Long had dinner at a friend's house with 5 to 6 friends. After 2 a.m. on September 11th, he went to retire in a bedroom, a spare bedroom, locked the door, went to sleep. Around 6 a.m., the gathering breaks up. They don't check up on him, they go downstairs, and they discover his body. A neighbor walking their dog also sees the body, calls the police. It was said that Yu Meng Long had 2 of his friends' Rolex watches in his pocket and had opened the Windows mesh screen. Police have ruled out foul play, but are still investigating the exact cause of death. Then, almost exactly an hour later, the same paparazzi man edits his original post. And he takes out 2 things. He takes out the part about Yu Meng Long having 2 Rolexes in his pockets. And he takes out the part that Yu Meng Long opened the mesh screen. Which is strange. Then at 2 p.m., the paparazzi man makes another post, which reads, This morning we received news that Yu Meng Long had fallen to his death in Beijing. Upon arriving at the residential complex where the incident occurred, we saw that the screen window on the 5th floor of the building had been damaged. We later interviewed the residential complex staff who confirmed that the man who fell to his death was indeed celebrity Yu Menglong. The incident occurred at 5 a.m. on the 11th of September. He fell from the 5th floor and died instantly on the concrete pavement. Then for 4 hours, it's radio silence. By this point, there are a lot of people, fingers crossed, hoping that maybe paparazzi man got it wrong for once, and that Yu Menglong is still alive. 6:44 p.m. Yu Menglong's studio account posts a very vague official announcement of his death. With deep sorrow, we must tell everyone our beloved Yu Menglong has passed away on September 11th, 2025, after falling from a building. After police investigation, criminal involvement has been ruled out. May the departed rest in peace and may the living stay strong. This is when all hell breaks loose. Because first of all, this feels like the first official confirmation that he's gone. He's deceased. So now, coupled with the shock and the grief that a lot of fans are feeling, everybody's confused about how big this is. The studio mentions nothing about, what do you mean a fall from a building? Knowing how Asian celebrities are treated, there was an initial wave of people wondering, was it self-exit? But then why would they not have said that? And also, if it's true that Yu Menglong is deceased, that means the original post from the paparazzi man is very true. So then you would have to assume that, right? Because they're the first ones to break the news, which means, okay, so then there's a dinner party that 5 or 6 people had gone to? How do you rule out criminal suspicion when there's a whole dinner party that he died at? And like, who are the 5 to 6 people? I mean, the questions are just growing. Like, how did he fall? Why did he fall? Was it a self-exit? Was it an accident? Was it a murder?
How do you have 2 Rolexes in the pocket?
Yeah, and why did the paparazzi man delete that?
Yeah.
Like, who are these friends? And how do you know the Rolexes were his friends' Rolexes? Additionally, even more puzzling is this agency that is putting out this very public statement, official statement of Yu Menglong's passing. This agency was created by Yu Menglong and was voluntarily dissolved. It doesn't exist anymore, legally speaking. Like, you open up a company and then you close the company. You voluntarily dissolve it. It is no longer in operation. And this has been voluntarily dissolved months ago by Yu Menglong. It's not supposed to be in operation, and it hasn't been for months. And then suddenly they're coming back to announce his passing.
Who's running this, right? Like, who's posting this?
Exactly. And who are they to say that there's no foul play involved? But it's not the most alarming thing in the world. Like, maybe this is a case of really, really bad miscommunication. Vague for no purpose other than, okay, why are they being vague? So netizens start asking these types of questions on social media, at the Beijing police, at everyone that's involved, asking very casual questions of like, how do you know there's no foul play? How do you know? Do you know who was at the party? Did you investigate everyone thoroughly? These are very normal questions considering this is a high-profile celebrity that has passed. And all those questions get instantly deleted. In fact, other than the initial messages of rest in peace Menglong, any other questions? Any concerns? Any wonders about the investigation being thorough, not thorough? All getting deleted. Just to give you context, every social media platform in China, obviously, like America, has their own user guidelines, meaning you can't just post whatever you want. Certain content is going to get off the platform. The platform itself usually takes it down or suppresses it. But these questions are not going against guidelines, but they're still getting deleted across social media platforms, not just one platform, but all of them, which can only mean one thing, that in order to delete anyone's questioning of Yu Menglong's death, that order is coming from the higher ups in the government. It is also believed that in order to censor to this degree across platforms, even comments, not just articles, but comments, it is believed that whoever sent down this order has to either be the head of state or at least part of the Politburo, which is the highest level of the government in China. You're talking about like the highest 25 government leaders and senior party leaders. You have to be one of the top 30 most powerful individuals in the entire nation to be able to censor news like this. Why are they involved in the passing of a Chinese actor? What does this have to do with them? Unless it has everything to do with them. Here's what is somewhat confirmed. Yu Menglong is 37 years old, and on September 11th, 2025, he reportedly fell to his death from the 5th floor of a residential building in Beijing. He's at a dinner party with his friends. The apartment that he fell to his death from, allegedly, is not owned by him. It is his friend's apartment. He falls to his death, and he's discovered the next morning. At first, the conspiracy is that this was a self-exit. I mean, I guess people were thinking about how stressful and depressing life is in general, how celebrities are often overworked in places like China. I mean, this would not be the most unheard of situation to happen. However, it is very hard. Netizens cannot apply the logic here. Netizens argue that based on what we know about Yu Minglong, which sure, you could say we know nothing because nobody on the internet really knows a celebrity, it's just parasocial, but still, based off of how he presents himself and just normal human behavior and psychology, netizens are questioning, why would Yu Minglong go to a friend's dinner party and then decide to self-exit at his friend's house? This was the initial theory that police were running with. Like, why would the police even think that this is a theory?
Yeah, exactly. On fifth floor too.
Yeah, why would he go to a friend's dinner party and then decide to self-exit? Psychologically and statistically speaking, people tend to want to have maximum privacy to avoid interruption and intervention. This doesn't make any sense. He also left his two beloved dogs, a corgi and a French bulldog, which we will talk about later because there are reports that people have seen videos of them being killed by the same people at the dinner party. We're gonna get into that. There's just a lot. It's too messy to give you all at once. Now, he leaves them. He doesn't leave a note. He doesn't text anyone, please care for my dogs. He doesn't tell anyone what he wants to happen to his dogs, who he wants to take care of his dogs. Because typically, I mean, that's a big thing. He loves his dogs, and if you don't leave certain notes, they could be sent to animal control. They could be put down. He doesn't do any of that. He just goes to his friend's house on the 5th floor. I mean, some say 6th floor, but it's technically the 5th floor. And he decides to self-exit. It doesn't make sense. The guest bedroom and possible choices, a lot of them, statistically speaking, psychologically speaking, have a great concern for the amount of impact on people, their loved ones. So at a friend's house just does not seem like it's plausible. But also they have something called perceived lethality. It's unfortunately a very big thing. There's a strong psychological need for certainty about the outcome. 5th floor does not make sense, statistically. I mean, people are even questioning how he even passed by falling from the 5th floor. Nobody believes that Yu Minglong had self-exited under these conditions. The police, they originally decided that he had self-exited, and they very quickly decide, actually, it's an accidental death. It's not a self-exit, it's an accidental death. So what had happened was he was very drunk. He got too drunk at this dinner party with his friends. And because he was so drunk, he went into the spare bedroom to sleep it off, sober up. Maybe he opened the window and then he fell out the window. And, you know, as he's opening up the window, that's a time where he could have also stumbled and fallen out the window, plummeting to his passing. It makes sense, right? Until you see the picture of the window, until you see exactly what the window looks like. The bedroom windows are long and rectangular. It almost looks like a standing mirror. Think of it like that. But the window itself has two separate panels, just cut in the middle. So the bottom panel, which is near the floor, it doesn't open because that would be very dangerous. It's not a balcony, it's just a window. Now the top portion opens up so that you can circulate air, and you have this mesh net to keep the bugs out. So you open this window to get fresh air. The top half opens, and like maybe that's where it goes wrong. He goes to open it, but he stumbles and he bursts through the mesh net and crashes down to his death. But the window opens inward, meaning he has to step away from the window to open the window. So it's not like he's pushing it out and then he falls through a mesh screen. He would have to step back into the room. But maybe he wants to get a closer look at the window. Maybe he wants to get closer to the mesh screen because he needs to sober up, he needs fresh air. But then he trips on something and stumbles and then crashes through the mesh net and falls to the ground. Highly, highly unlikely. The window opens up at the 35-inch mark on the wall. If you are near a desk or a dining table, to give you some sort of reference, in America at least, most dining tables are around like the 30-inch mark. This is 35 inches. Yu Minglong is 180 centimeters or 5 feet 11 inches tall. Accidentally falling through the mesh and to his death is possible, but it requires specific movements. So for someone who is 5'11", the center of gravity is going to be around 39 inches. 4 inches is a relatively small discrepancy. The 35-inch window, to give you context, a lot of residential railings in America have 36-inch height requirements. So it's just 1 more inch. Mm-hmm. He could have fallen if perhaps he was leaning out the window to grab something that he dropped, but that's not the case because the mesh screen is damaged. It was not taken off.
And the mesh screen are made out of like fine little like metal mesh. So it's stronger.
It's almost like a cheese grater type vibe. I mean, it's not going to hurt you, but it's metal, so it's not like the fabric mesh that most Americans are used to. So it's hard to push through that. It's hard to punch through that even. So then that would mean that he would have to trip and fall forward hard enough to break through this metal mesh barrier and then tumble to his passing without having the time. And this is a pretty skinny window. So like he would have a lot of places on the inside to hold himself to. It's not just like a giant gaping hole. That is a lot of force. He would theoretically have to be trying to ram through the window if he were doing this by himself. One neighbor says, not only that, the mesh screen and the window, like, yeah, you could sit there, do center of gravity calculations, but she's gonna tell you, someone would have to punch or kick him. I'm just telling you, it doesn't make any sense. She says, I've lived there for 3 years. There's just no way someone can accidentally fall off. Truly. I had a friend who was drunk, and if they're looking out my window, I'm not worried. I'm not checking up on that friend. It doesn't make any sense. None of this makes sense.
即使他醉醒了，我也丝毫不会担心他会坠楼，因为窗台足够高，纱窗足够坚固。
Ever notice when you're checking out online, there is this purple Shop Pay button sitting there among all the payment options? That's Shopify, and that's my favorite button. And there is a reason it shows up everywhere you shop. At first, I just thought it was another payment method. Turns out it's actually the backbone behind so many of the online stores that we buy from regularly, including the surprise that we have coming that we can't really talk about. But you guys already know, Shopify is the greatest. I mean, they are the experts at helping small businesses figure out how to actually grow and complete sales. All those shopping options we take for granted as customers, like being able to order something online and pick it up in store, or vice versa. When you're in a store but you realize they don't have your size and retailers ship directly to your house, Shopify makes all of that seamless for businesses to offer. Customers get to shop however they want, and businesses have the tools to actually close every sale instead of losing people at the checkout. When my family and I were setting up Grandpa Mingo's art studio, we learned so much from Shopify. Especially this one tip. It's not just about selling great products. It's about making it effortless for your customers to say yes. Since believed to be Yu Long. If this is him, it looks almost as if he is sitting on the apartment floor. His back is towards the window, maybe leaning up against the window, and he's resting his back there. And his legs are spread out in front of him, and his back is leaned all the way forward, slumped all the way forward. The shadow body language is reminiscent of someone who's completely breaking down. It just seems like someone has given up. That's the body language. He's heard screaming in the video, and the best way I can describe this is, sounds like when someone is at their end, and that's no way saying the end of their life, but at the end of something. Like he's wailing, I have been threatened since I was young. You guys want to play me to death. I have been threatened. Once this video goes up, everyone's wondering, I mean, it sounds like Yu Long. It looks like the apartment that he allegedly fell out of. Who's at this dinner party? Who are these people? Why are they torturing him to the point of this breakdown? Who is he talking to? And he conveniently passes away the same night that he's being allegedly mentally tortured by a group of anonymous friends and business executives. It doesn't make sense. Another insider post starts spreading that day, and it reads, rumors have been circulating that a powerful man has been trying to have intimate relations with Yu Long, but he has been refusing. That led to his death. He was blackballed from the industry, and that resulted in 5 to 6 of his friends that decided that they were going to get up on this higher-up's good side, and they set up Yu Long. They invited him to this so-called dinner party. They drugged him, got him drunk. He was likely essayed or worded by that higher-up man. And those 2 Rolex watches were given to him by that guy to shut him up. Side note, the list with all the 17 people, I mean, these are identified people. So like this higher up that people are alluding to, originally nobody knew who, but by this point, they've all been somewhat identified. Not confirmed, but identified on this list. And we're going to go in depth later because every single person on that list is so suspicious, and there is so many things tying them to this event that I can't just breeze through it. But it is believed that one of the higher-ups that was allegedly at the party had a thing for flexing his Rolex watches all over the internet. And some have even tied these 2 Rolexes back to him. It's unclear which specific Rolexes were allegedly found on Yu Long that day, if there even were. But it's hard to say if these are common models or hard to get limited edition models, so I'm not sure. But this guy loves Rolexes, not Yu Long, but that higher-up executive. So the post continues, it's believed that the realization of what happened, the trauma, and the knowing that he was not able to process the trauma of being assaulted, that is why he was freaking out in the video. The Post continues to allege no autopsy has been performed, nobody in the group has been questioned, and the immediate ruling out of a homicide suggests that whoever this man that essayed Yu Menglong is very, very powerful, very influential. Even the police do not want to investigate or get involved. All of these start circulating. And while people are trying to dig up any other information about the 17 people, all the dozens of people, who the police are, like everyone that's involved, there are also excavators. There is no shortage of excavators on the internet. This is their full-time job. They neglect their own personal lives and career goals to excavate on the internet under this thinly disguised veil of keeping people accountable. I don't know. After Yu Menglong's passing, the excavators come out with the intention of holding a deceased man accountable for whatever they dig up. I don't know how their brains work, if they have one. It's very odd, but they start excavating Yu Menglong's past. Yu Menglong has always been a very private celebrity. He doesn't seem to like posting online about what he's wearing, who he's dating, where he's traveling, or just lots of personal details. He will do enough for a celebrity to give his viewers and fans what they want to see, but he seems very, very private. All we even really know about his family is that he seems to be the only child. And what he mentioned in an interview once is that he says that his parents are basically the epitome of love. His mom would lovingly joke with his dad that he's gaining weight and he's getting that middle-aged belly. But she's joking, and he wants to be attractive for his wife, so he starts going to the gym, even takes it so far he becomes a fitness coach. That's really it. We know that he graduated from the Beijing Performing Arts Academy, but it takes a lot of money to get your name and face out there, or even just to have the right connections to be in the right rooms where the deals are actually signed. He doesn't have that. So he starts auditioning for all of these different reality shows, and his breakout show is actually Superboy. He ends up placing top 10. This is an idol-making show, primarily focused on singing and dancing, and although Yu Menglong later goes on to be an actor, he's pretty good at singing. When he sings, the judge on the show say, it's very interesting. He has such a soft voice, but it's soulful. It's like this weird, addicting juxtaposition of sounding so soft and young, but also sounding like you've seen a lot of stuff. You've experienced life. Like, that is a hard combination. And then his attitude, it's just humble yet determined. He tells producers that this was his second show that he was on, and the first one he didn't do well, but quote, I believe that if I keep trying, one day I will find a stage that's truly mine. Ironically, one of the very last songs that he sings on that show before officially starting his career in the industry, he sings a well-known song called The Sky is Dark. Notable lyrics include, the sky is dark, it's about to rain. This was the kind of world I was looking for. However, running headfirst, I was misunderstood. I was cheated. Is this the unseen world of adults? At crossroads, which I am forced to face every day, I miss the innocence and lovely through relatively small happiness of the past. The sky is wide, yet unable to be seen clearly. Suddenly, I look forward to the sky falling with quiet rain. Everything will calm down eventually. Now, I really feel like I'm going home.
我的小时候，吵闹任性的时候，我的外婆不会唱歌，我以为这就是我所追求的世界，然而横冲直撞，被误解被骗，是否成人的世界背后总有残缺。
Doesn't say, it almost feels like this was his final song before going into the entertainment industry, which is known to be really dark. After concluding the show Superboy, he goes on to sign with a state-run talent agency. It's basically a government-run talent agency. I believe this is the only one in China that's government-run and not a private company. But from there, he transitions into acting. He gets roles in Go Princess Go in 2015, Eternal Love 2017, and The Legend of the White Snake 2019. Okay, so a lot of the roles that he gets, they're like the olden day dramas. He does not have iPhone face, is what people would say. Like, he has this aura about him where he just feels like you would see him on the street and you're like, I think that he has some wisdom to put onto me, because he seems like he knows a lot. That's the vibe. He has that older energy. I don't know if I'm even describing it correctly. He feels calm, serene, like he gives wise, sage advice. That's the energy he has. The Legend of the White Snake, he actually ends up getting really positive critical acclaim. You know, critics are saying the whole piece is a fantasy. It's based off of a legend of the white snake. I mean, it's out of this world. It's whimsical. It's fantastical. It's a fantasy, which you have to bring that out. But also, if it's too whimsical, too fantastical, it feels like a child's play. It feels like a kid's show. But Yu Meng Long was able to bring out the whimsy, but also it felt very human. His role felt very human. It doesn't feel too exaggerated. It felt very grounded. By this point, he has over 26 million followers on Weibo. You just know when someone's gonna make it bigger. They're already big, but they're only gonna get bigger. That's the feeling. They have this it factor. They're maybe not the top A-list celebrity yet, but the trajectory seems like it's going there. That's what Yu Meng Long's trajectory feels like. He has a very strong star power. Everybody's anticipating that he's eventually gonna get up there soon. He's talented, he's conventionally attractive, but more than that, his fans, I mean, sure, he might not have as many as some of the other A-list actors, but he is so beloved. The one fan posted a video. She wasn't even a fan when she met Yu Meng Long. She didn't even know who he was. And she says, I was going on a trip, and I just had this like really beat up, run down suitcase. It fit my clothes, it was fine. She puts it in the overhead bin in the airplane, and then she takes it off, and the wheels pop off. So she's scrambling, stressing, freaking out, shoves the wheels back in. It kind of works. She starts wheeling it around the airport, and she's struggling. I mean, this whole day, she was just a sweaty mess. She says this herself. It was bad. Like, she was just getting lost. It was a whole thing. Mid-airport walk, wheels pop right back off.